Hello everyone, my name is TheUhhoh, and today we're doing some more Tropico 4, and I'm sure many of you are wondering why we are staring at an empty city yet again. Well, I've had a lot of time to think, you see. I've been transferring files over to my new computer, getting all that stuff done, and I've had some time to think. To think and reflect about the mistakes we've made over this entire series, and the mistakes we're hopefully going to correct, because I'm just going to put it this way, we fucked up bad with that last mission. Like, we fucked up so bad that there was pretty much no way of recovering. Our economy was pretty much in the toilet, already flushed, just completely flushed down, not a chance of coming back. Probably the biggest economic failure I've had in the entire game. And I've had, if you've been watching this, you know for well that I've had plenty of economic failures. But this mission is going to be interesting. The reason I restarted was simple. There is a very specific task in this mission that would have decimated me 100%, and that's setting the minimum wage to $20. No way on my old economic setup was that going to happen. No way. So, I've decided to restart. It's the first time I've restarted a mission, and because it's the last mission, it'll maybe be the last time, hopefully. In either case, I'm going to be taking a different approach today. And instead of going for farming, which requires more jobs, requires more workers, I'm going to go for probably mining and ranching, and maybe get my food from the ocean from fishing and stuff, because those typically require less workers, and if we're going to be approaching the $20 per hour mark, we want to have as few people in the workforce as possible. So that's the plan, at least. Plus, I think iron and stuff actually sells for more money, so it's probably a better thing to start with. We're going to just build a road out to this. Hopefully this works. It probably won't, though. I'm going to be honest with you, it probably won't. We're probably going to get fucked no matter what we do, but at least if we do this, we can say we tried. I am a bit out of the loop when it comes to this series and all of my series. It's actually been a very, very, very long time since I've recorded. It's been about like 2 to 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's interesting. In fact, I have no idea if this audio is even coming out properly. I was having some issues with the recording software that I think are resolved. At least the tests showed they were resolved. But there's no real way to be sure until I actually get a full recording out there and I see what an hour's worth of content produces. Basically a rough rundown of the problem. I've been having some issues with the computer not detecting my microphone, or sometimes even detecting microphones that don't exist, which, I don't know how to really explain that. I mean, I guess something could be wrong with the detection. Maybe, like, the actual audio jack isn't clean, and it's falsely detecting a non-existent microphone, and also potentially disrupting the transmissions from my microphone to the computer. That's one guess, but I don't know how to fix that if that's the case. I'm assuming I'd have to spray it with something. It hasn't been too big of a problem, though. At least in the recordings I've done, little test things, it hasn't caused any issues. So hopefully it won't come up, but as I said, I won't know until I'm actually through with 30 minutes to an hour recording. In which case, if there is a problem, you won't be hearing this. And the reason I'm just filling the air right now, of course, comes from the fact that there's actually nothing to do. Nothing at all. It's one of the problems we consistently face with the start of any mission in Tropico, and we faced it time and time again. We faced it every single mission, in fact, and that's not having anything to do. We don't have the money to spend. We don't have the projects to work on. Right now, I'm just kind of sitting and waiting for my population to tick up, which is, of course, going to take some time. We're already getting freighters that leave with no exports on board, so that's some good progress at the very least. Do we actually have workers yet? We do have some workers. There are people working at every single mine, which means that we are going to be getting some resources soon, some exports going out. And if my knowledge of this game is accurate, and by the way, never quote me for knowledge on any game. That's just a disclaimer I need to put on every video. I don't know shit about games. This isn't a channel for you to learn shit about games either. You want to learn successful strategies, you go somewhere else. I'm very shit. But according to what I know, at least, this is one of the best ways to make early money. It sells more than any farm can produce. Now, the value of gold and the value of iron typically starts out high, whereas the value of sugar, for example, doesn't really sell as much. Now, you can refine it into rum later, but that's further down the production line, and we need early resources. We need money coming in as quickly as possible. I do usually like to start out with, if it's an option to go for rum to get sugar, but not on this one. Not on this one, and the reason being the $20 per hour minimum wage, which, come to think about it, when it comes to that objective, can't I just, it doesn't say I have to keep it on. All the objective says is set the minimum wage to $20. Surely, if I set the minimum wage to $20 and then, set it back to like $0 or whatever, I would have technically completed the achievement. I would have progressed. But would that count? How does that work? Okay, we're going to figure that out. When this comes around, we're going to try it. We're going to push the minimum wage up to 20, and then we're going to immediately lower it back and see if it actually lets us do that. My guess is it probably won't. The game probably has something to prevent us from reversing it, or it'll reverse the objective, or we'll instantly fail the mission. That's the other option, which would be very trollish, but also kind of expected in a game like Tropico, which kind of builds itself off of that kind of humor. In either case, I think it's time we start looking at potential investment in education, because we need to get that as quickly as possible. Fuck. Well, we're going to need to get a high school. It's $8,000. It's kind of expensive. But I think it's a worthwhile investment, because there's no reason to even build industrial facilities if we don't have workers to work in them. That's a problem we ran into last time we did this mission, where we had the industry, but we didn't have the workers. So getting a high school up to do that is probably a good idea. Plus, it'll satisfy the intellectuals. We do need to get a church up, too. Because if we start satisfying the intellectuals, the religious people are going to start getting upset. They'll be like, oh, no, you're spreading that atheism in your schools again. All of that global warming and all of that, evolution. Of course, and of course these guys. We can't forget these assholes. Which, you know what? I'm not even gonna listen to you, Sunny Flowers. I'm just gonna let you know right now. And any environmentalist watching this, listening to it, whatever you're doing to it, let's just put it this way: Tropico is not for you. Just don't even come to Tropico. Just go back to the States. Go to Europe. Go wherever you want to go. Go to China. They could use some environmentalists. Just stay out of Tropico. Macho Man doesn't got time for you. He doesn't care about you or what you want. He cares about his pocket. And unless the environmentalist cause has something to support that pocket of his, maybe to help carry it around or make it a bit heftier, it ain't gonna happen. Why should Macho Man Gordon invest in clean energy if there's no benefit? And this is actually something I'm legitimately criticize this game for. You have an environmentalist faction, which, yes, granted, is a political ideology, and yes, there is a lot of environmental problems in the real world, but there are no environmental problems in Tropico. Literally, Tropico is a conservative utopia. There is no global warming in Tropico. There's nothing you have to account for. There's no environmental disasters that can occur, at least to my knowledge. So that makes the Environmentalist Party a complete moot point. Why would I want to invest? It's just a waste of money. It's a waste of money. What they should do is kind of similar to what Anno 2070 does. And I think that would be a really cool mechanic to introduce here, because it was a cool mechanic there. Having environmental impact actually means something in the game. This is something they need to do for Tropico 5 or 6. Have environmental disasters that occur if you do not control your pollution levels. That would be a good way. That would be a good way for making people support the Environmentalist Party, or at least giving the environmentalists a purpose that you can't just ignore. Because as it stands, their party ideology in this game is completely unaligned to every other ideology. You could ignore them the entire game and be perfectly fine. And that just seems a bit off. Just a little bit.